Broadcasting live from the News Center of Inclusive Communication Network.
News with need.
News with education.
News with consideration.
News with nothing but fact. Good afternoon, Philippines. Good afternoon, Zamboanga. It's a sunny day, May 6, 2023.
This is ICN, serving you the latest and most leading news of the hour.
For the headlines.
For the international news, the International Disability Alliance, or IDA, calls for more support for students with ADHD and learning disabilities.
For the national news. Private and public schools and university in the Philippines implement new strategies and educational consideration to support students with ADHD and learning disability in an inclusive classroom.
For the local news, parents of children with ADHD and learning disabilities in Western Mindanao State University share their experiences in enrolling their child in an inclusive school.
For the showbiz news, a famous male actor exhibited unusual behaviors during their taping, and a well-known Filipino painter was diagnosed with dyslexia, and his condition manifests itself in his artworks.
For the sports news, students with ADHD and learning disabilities engaged in different sports activities.
For the details of our news.
For the international news, the International Disability Alliance, or IDA, calls for more support for students with ADHD and learning disabilities. Here's Sheila Azucena for the details.
The International Disability Alliance, a global organization focused on improving awareness and rights for individuals with disabilities around the globe, calls for more support for students with ADHD and learning disabilities with the help of these experts who can learn the different challenges faced by these students and the support that can help them succeed. Joining us today is Dr. Amy Francisco, a clinical psychologist who has been diagnosing children with ADHD, prescribing medication as well as counseling or therapy to learners with this condition. Good day, Dr. Francisco. Can you tell us more about the challenges faced by students with ADHD on a global scale?
So thank you, Ms. Azucena, for having me here. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or also known as ADHD, is one of the most common neurodevelopmental disorders among children. So children diagnosed with this condition exhibit characteristics that affect how they learn and functions on a day-to-day basis, such as inability to pay attention or focus, impaired ability to sit or concentrate for a long period of time, and also impaired ability to control one's own emotions or behavior. So children with ADHD may also struggle with low self-esteem, troubled relationship with poor performance in school. Symptoms sometimes lessen with age. However, some people never completely outgrow their ADHD symptoms, but they can learn strategies to be successful. So while treatment won't cure ADHD, but it can help a great deal with symptoms. Treatment typically involves medications and behavioral interventions. Early diagnosis and treatment can make a big difference in outcome. Therefore, as a medical professional specialized with this type of disability, I call for more support for students with ADHD and other disabilities.
What support can be given to students with ADHD?
So there are many supports that can be given to the students with ADHD. Educators can provide accommodations to help these students reach their full potentials. It's also important for parents and caregivers to be involved in their child's educations and to advocate for their needs.
Thank you so much, Dr. Francisco. Let us hear from another medical professional from International Disability Alliance, a school psychologist, Dr. Natalia Ramos. Good day, Dr. Ramos.
Good day, Sheila.
the same questions as Dr. Francisco. What challenges faced by students with learning disabilities on a global scale?
Learning disabilities are problems that affects the child's ability to receive, process, analyze, or store information. There are three classifications of learning disabilities, namely dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia. These three classifications of LD are facing challenges wherein dyslexia is a learning disability that impairs reading ability. For instance, students with dyslexia process word and letter order differently than readers who don't have dyslexia, which results in a tougher time with reading and writing assignments. And while the dysgraphia is a learning difference that makes writing more difficult, both on a physical and mental level, like students with dysgraphia find communicating ideas in a written form to be challenging. For instance, a student with dysgraphia makes the act of writing words harder because the learning difference affects the development of complex or fine motor skills. And for the dyscalculia, makes math difficult. While dyslexia and dysgraphia both affect reading and written communication, right? Dyscalculia makes the processing of numbers, time, and space momentarily difficult. Moreover, simple math equations can be overwhelming for students with this learning difference. Additionally, like dyslexia and dysgraphia, language processing is also more challenging.
What support can be given to students with learning disabilities?
Okay, so we can help students with learning difficulties by providing academic and emotional support, strategy, instruction, and motivation. I'll just pinpoint the educational considerations and the tactics of a teacher for the learning disability. For the dyslexia, teacher needs to simplify and explain carefully in a written instruction, highlight or black off important information in written course materials, allow and encourage the student to use an audio recorder in class, complement any visual instruction with verbal direction, give time to go over specific corrections on written assignments. Also, offer examples or samples of another student's work. Then assign a classmate partner to routinely compare notes taken in class. So some tips also for helping students with dysgraphia includes that allows them to have a more time within class written assignments, offer them printed copies of your class notes, issue class assignments earlier to give them more time to plan, grade their written work less on spelling, handwriting, or grammar errors, evaluate their work based on their understanding of the concepts of their learnings, and also walk them through what areas you specifically the teachers grade for. While for the last, for student with dyscalculia, it's need to address their math anxiety in a window by offering one-on-one help before or after class. Other ways to help these students includes like giving extra time on tests and long math assignments, offer a copy of your class notes, arrange inside or outside school tutoring, allow them to use a calculator on tasks and assignments that aren't assessing computation, and prepare also different highlighted worksheets for long-form word problems. Also check in often to make sure they are not overwhelmed by the subject or the math subject. Provide plenty of extra sketch paper. Use supplementary learning materials like multiplication tables and formulas. So that would be all. Thank you, Ms. Sheila.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramos. That's all for international news for today. I am Sheila Azucena reporting.
For the national news, private and public schools and university in the Philippines implement new strategies and educational considerations to support students with ADHD and learning disabilities in an inclusive classroom. Here's Rodalyn Lucasha for the details.
I am live here at the La Salle College of St. Manuel. As you know, it is one of the schools and universities here in the Philippines that implement new strategies and educational consideration to support students with ADHD and learning disabilities in an inclusive classroom. We have two general education teachers who are going to share with us the strategies and educational consideration on how to support students with ADHD and learning disability in their respective classrooms. First, we have Professor Kathleen Delyaba, who was a student who was diagnosed with ADHD. Good day, ma'am. You have a student who was diagnosed with ADHD, am I right? So what are the strategies and educational considerations you provide to this student?
Okay, so first of all, good day, viewers. So, as a teacher in an inclusive classroom, in order to cater to the needs of my learners, including my student who has ADHD, I established a supportive, structured classroom that will encourage meaningful learning and enforce proper discipline. Inside the classroom, I make sure that there are no potential barriers or distractions that could affect the learning of my students, such as by making those who have problems with remembering and focusing to sit in front of the classroom or near me so that they could effectively listen and pay attention when I am discussing or giving instructions. In terms of giving instructions, I always make it short yet clear and simple. I say them in positive terms that convey what I want my students to do. For example, instead of saying, no loud talking when you come into the class, I say, when you come into class, check the assignment on the board and start working quietly. I also make classroom routines. So this strategy can help students, most especially those with difficulty remembering and focusing, to stay on task. The routines include writing the assignments or homework on the board, or posting the daily schedule in the classroom and reminding them what is the next class. In presenting lessons, I use explicit instruction in which I break down the concept or topics into small ones and then teach those topics one by one in a structured and direct manner. So I always present or write the topics or instructions on the board and read it out loud in class. I also provide an outline of the lesson so that students will be able to follow with the discussion and take down notes. When providing assignments or activities, I give them hands-on activities and make them work in groups to allow learners, particularly my student with ADHD, to work with others and develop his ability to socialize or his social skills. I also make use of contingency-based self-management. So it is a form of behavioral therapy where positive behavioral changes are rewarded to reinforce the behavior. So every time my student is accomplishing a task successfully, I always provide frequent positive praises, rewards, or feedback. I use positive praise such as you're doing a great job or you've got it. So I use all these rewards or feedbacks in order to encourage positive behavior. So this strategy is very effective, most especially when teaching and handling students with ADHD because it reduces disruptive behaviors and increases classroom engagement. So in handling students with ADHD in an inclusive classroom, I also make use of functional behavioral assessment. This assessment is used to identify a specific or target behavior that interferes with the learning of the student and to develop interventions to improve or eliminate those behaviors. So for example, if I learn that my student with ADHD is seeking attention by acting out, I can then develop a plan to teach the student more appropriate ways to gain attention, thereby filling the student's need with an alternative behavior that serves the same function as the inappropriate behavior. So this is how functional behavior assessment is used to assess learners with ADHD. So these are the educational considerations as well as the teaching strategies that I use in handling and teaching an inclusive class with a student with ADHD.
Now, let's interview Professor Michelle Ekid, who was a student who was diagnosed with learning disability. Good day, ma'am. Good day. So, you have a student who was diagnosed with learning disability, right?
Yes, he was diagnosed with dyslexia, a learning disorder that involves difficulty reading due to problems in identifying speech sounds and how they relate to letters and words.
So, what are the strategies and educational consideration you provide to this student?
I have been using UDL or Universal Design for Learning. This approach really helps me to address the individual needs of my learners.
Can you explain further these strategies and educational consideration?
This approach provides multiple means of expression, representation, and engagement, and it is effective for all types of learners and provide level playing field for students with learning disabilities. This approach has been proven to be effective, especially for students with memory and focusing difficulties because it allows me to use multi-sensory teaching method. So using as many senses as possible allows me to tap more areas of the brain so that learning and memory can take place. And also, I can use explicit instruction, a step-by-step instruction that includes modeling, providing guided practice, as well as independent practice while giving immediate corrective feedback so students will understand what and how to improve. Students with dyslexia and struggling reader benefit from the direct or explicit approach in phonological processing, phonics instructions, and spelling rules. Because of their reading and spelling difficulties, learning through mere visual approach will not be effective. That's why explicit instruction in phonemic awareness and phonics was essential to develop a firm understanding of the alphabetic principles.
Thank you so much, Professor. So these are the latest updates here at the LaSalle College of St. Manuel. This is Rodeline Lucasha reporting.
Don't change your channel. ICN will be right back.
I am Olsen, and I am a doctor.
I am Justin. I'm an engineer who constructs a building for the community.
I am Rainier. Your safety is my priority. I am a soldier.
I am Christine. I help mold the mind of every learner. I am a teacher.
Education is for all.
No one should be left behind.
Make our future a reality.
Help us build our dream today.
For the local news, parents of children with ADHD and learning disabilities in Western Mindanao State University share their experiences in enrolling their child in an inclusive school. Here's Carmina Faye Aladad for the details.
Parents of children with ADHD and learning disabilities in Western Mindanao State University share their experiences in enrolling their child in an inclusive school. We have the parents of a child with ADHD here. Good day, ma'am. What are your experiences in enrolling your child in an inclusive school?
You know, Miss Carmina, it is really hard to see or being a mother of someone who is having an ADHD. You know, it really makes me sad, makes me mad at the same time as a mother to see my child being bullied or make fun of. With the help of knowing him with an inclusive education, it really helps out. One of the best experiences that I had to experience is the collaborations with the teachers just to accommodate my child, just to meet his needs, just in order for them to learn more. And I think that is one of the best experiences that I had. In addition, Ms. Carmina, and what I really like about inclusive education is the sense of belongingness. There is, the community is very acceptable, the accommodations and modifications of the teachers is really, you know, they really put an effort to it. There is a sense of acceptance, sense of love, sense of belongingness, the equality, and the diversity. They view diversity as enough, and that is what I appreciate the most.
In your opinion, how effective inclusive schools are in improving the learning of students with ADHD?
It is really important, you know, when we say inclusive education, the community is accessible, the teachers are equipped enough to handle these children, and I think it is really important for someone who has an ADHD or attention deficit hyperactive disorder to enroll in an inclusive education. This will help them in managing their behavior rather, can be socially developed and academically as well.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, we also have here a parent who has a child with a learning disability, specifically dyscalculia. Good day, ma'am.
Hi, good morning. I am a parent and my child was diagnosed with a learning disability, to be specific, dyscalculia.
What are your experiences in enrolling your child in an inclusive school?
Starting when she was enrolled in an inclusive school she isn't shy anymore. She is more friendly than before. Her social skills were developed and she's also improving in other subjects. She is not behind just because she has this disability. She has a dyscalculia. I can see that the classroom has a healthy environment, a healthy learning environment. So my child was really excited to go to school every day to learn and play along with her other classmates and also to learn.
In your opinion, how effective inclusive schools are in improving the learning of students with learning disability, dyscalculia?
An inclusive school or an inclusive classroom is very important because it changes the life of every children, not just the children with disability, but also all children, all learners, because it provides learning about acceptance in diversity, and despite the difference of different learners, they can still unite in an activity and especially in learning. And the importance of having an inclusive school or classroom is no children will feel left out, will be included in learning the same lessons.
Thank you, parents. These are the latest updates here in Western Mindanao State University. This is Aladad Criminafe reporting.
For the showbiz news, a famous male actor exhibited unusual behavior during their taping. Here's Juliana Garcia for the details.
The famous actor Daniel James Rebello suddenly showed unusual behavior during their taping last Friday, April 29, for his upcoming movie entitled Sikreto ng Mga Gwapo. During their taping, Daniel suddenly gets angry, shows tantrums, and refuses to do the things the director asked him to do. And their director and his co-workers were so shocked because of his attitude, and they decided to postpone their taping. So, Mr. Rania, why did you make an unusual scene during the taping?
I got frustrated with my lines. I found it hard to memorize this because it's too long. I didn't know how to execute it properly, my scenes. I just couldn't control my emotions at that time, so I suddenly bursted out.
We also interviewed the manager of the actor.
We are so sorry about the attitude that our actor has shown. Actually, our actor was diagnosed with attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, which is ADHD. It was hard for him to find himself difficult or boring. And then it also causes him hard for him to control himself. He gets frustrated. Then our actor is currently the actor is experiencing stress and pressure due to his upcoming movie. So that's why he exhibited such behavior. But however, it is rest assured that our actor, or this won't happen again, because the actor is consistently receiving behavioral management and support.
I sincerely apologize to my director, to my co-actors and fans. I hope you understand. And still support me despite of my condition.
This is Juliana Garcia reporting.
For the next showbiz news, a well-known Filipino painter, Olsen Palakay, was diagnosed with dyslexia, and his condition manifests itself in his artworks. Here's Ria Francisco for the updates.
I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 13 years old. So I really struggled during my school years because I have difficulty reading due to problems in identifying speech sounds and learning how they relate to letters and words. So, however, I told myself that this shouldn't hinder me from achieving my dreams. So I really love to paint. Since I have difficulty expressing myself through words, I decided to express myself visually in the form of art.
Olsen believes that his dyslexia is what causes him to be a painter. His paintings show the way he learns information and views and processes the world. Rather than learning through standard education practices such as memorization, he finds solace in learning visually and through narratives. He comprehends things visually and tries to find them in paint.
To those people who have learning disabilities or other disabilities, I hope that your disability will not hinder you from dreaming.
That's all for the Showbiz News. This is Tria Francisco.
This is Juliana Garcia reporting.
For the sports news, students with ADHD and learning disability engage in different sports activities. Here's Alfie Bangkirigo for the details.
Students with ADHD and learning disabilities in Zamboanga Central School SPED Center showed their skills and abilities as they engaged in different sports activities as part of their summer fun activity. The activity was done in collaboration with the Disability Society of the Philippines, a government organization designed for the purpose of providing different kinds of support and activities to individuals with disabilities, their families, and the professionals who work with them through the educational programs, empowerment, advocacy, and networking with stakeholders. During the event, some students with ADHD played tennis and basketball, while students with learning disabilities did swimming and cycling. The students were properly guided and supported by their teachers and parents.
Now let's interview the organizer of the event. Okay, Mr. Abdurrahman, what is the purpose of the event?
Oh yes, many children with ADHD and learning difficulties or disorder have these self-esteem issues. So we want to address that issue by allowing them to participate in very various activities for them to socialize, make friends for others, and to compete with others to boost their confidence.
Thank you so much, Ms. Calisto and Mr. Abdurrahman. Now let's interview some students who participate in different activities. So, what sports did you participate in?
I played basketball.
How was your experience anyway?
It was great. I was able to socialize with other kids and play with them. I had so much fun. And I even learned how to play new games and made some new friends.
What sports did you participate in?
I did swimming.
How was your experience anyway?
It was enjoyable. I can feel my body moving. It was a memorable experience for me.
And those were the top stories for this hour. This is ICN.
These are your anchors, Abby Faye
and Alifar Sabudi.
See you again for another latest and most leading news of the hour.